My name's Maria Chavarella and I'm from My Green Garden. In this series of online lectures, we're now going to look at an option which not only takes all food scraps, it's also suitable for pet poo. We know that keeping food out of landfill benefits our environment by reducing waste issues and the subsequent production of harmful greenhouse gases that are released from food and organic waste. Surveys of bins in 2019 found that food waste accounted for a whopping 46% of the contents of landfill bins in Boroondara. To avoid this compostable waste further polluting our environment, Council is introducing a new system where you can now put both food waste and garden waste out for weekly collection. This is known as the FOGO bin. FOGO stands for Food Organics and Garden Organics. It's the bin with the lime green lid. Note again, this FOGO bin is collected weekly for your food organics and garden waste. This means that your bin with its landfill waste will now be collected fortnightly instead. The benefits are that what you put in the FOGO bin is sent for commercial hot composting to be turned into valuable compost to be used by farmers to grow more food, as well as reducing waste going to landfill. A win-win for the environment. Did you realise that pet waste is also a huge contributor to the problem of landfill? Anyone with a pet will know that they can produce a lot of waste. 2 medium-sized dogs can fill a 9-litre bucket with poo every week. The new FOGO bins cannot accept any pet poo or litter with the collection. If sending pet poo to landfill contributes to the greenhouse gas issue, well, what should you do with your pet waste instead of putting it in the bin? Enter the green cone solar composter. This green cone compost system works on pet poo as well as food waste. So can you use both the green cone solar composter and the FOGO bin? Yes, because composting pet waste at home will reduce the volume and the smell in your landfill bin. And if you're finding that you're filling your FOGO bin too quickly, you can always add food waste to the green cone compost system. How the green cone works is that there are 2 sections to it. There's a perforated basket which gets buried in the ground. This allows earthworms and soil microbes to break down the contents. The beauty of this too is that vermin, such as rats and mice, can't get into this basket section as it's buried well below the ground level. Rats and mice are one of the main reasons we'd advise against using a standard compost bin if you're worried about vermin, and the green cone does overcome this issue. The system has to be in full sun though, because this speeds up the breaking down process of the waste that you're adding. In a cold or predominantly shady position, decomposition is much slower and any food or pet poo won't break down so quickly. So it is a system that requires a garden or at least a patch of soil in a sunny spot in order to be effective. The soil should also be well draining, otherwise all the liquid that comes out from the waste scraps will pool around the waste and create possible odour issues. If you're a bit concerned that your soil might not be well draining enough, take a closer look at the photo on the far right and you can see how the soil level is raised in quite an attractive manner to aid with the drainage problems that you might have in heavy clay soils. Keen composter that I am, I purchased one of the green cones so I could try it out for myself. That's what it looks like on the right hand side as compared to a 240 litre council bin. So you can get an idea of the relative size before it's put in place. You can see the black perforated basket which gets buried below the ground and how the perforations start quite deeply under the soil level. And here we have the green cone after it's been installed. I dug a hole large enough and deep enough to fit the basket so that the perforated basket is now below ground level and the top section is not nearly as obtrusive as before. You've got to make sure you don't cut into underground cables, irrigation pipes, so be careful when you are digging. So when you're ready to set up and start to put your scraps in, they fall to below the soil level into that black basket area, allowing worms and other beneficial soil microbes to interact with the food scraps, helping it all break down. The walls of the upper section trap heat and so speed up the process. It's simple. So looking at all the advantages that the green cone solar composter has, which won me over, are that first of all, it takes loads of food waste, including meat, fish, bones, dairy, bread, onions, leftovers. In Boroondara, your new FOGO system will take all of that anyway, but the green cone takes pet waste as well, from all manner of pets. Being an enclosed unit, it doesn't attract pests such as rats and mice. Benefit, it also enriches the surrounding soil, so that's great for your garden as well. And very importantly, for people who have no time nor interest in gardening but want to do the right thing by the environment, is that it is a virtually maintenance-free system and requires no balance of carbon, nitrogen, or need to be turned like in compost. You can leave it and go away on holiday without needing people to pet sit for you. For example, if you had worm farms, and you don't need to empty it every 4 to 6 weeks like a bokashi bucket. So some things to keep in mind if you're thinking this might work for you is that it does require a patch of dirt. You still need a garden for this to work. It is an interaction with soil elements that are needed in order to decompose properly. So otherwise it'd just be a pile of rotting food scraps and dog poo. So to this end, it must be in a sunny spot. Try and aim for at least 8 hours of direct sunlight a day. The hard work is at the start, as you do need to put it together. However, it is easier than any IKEA furniture that I've ever tried, and it does require some digging to bury the cage, so you might need to enlist the help of someone else if you don't think you'd be capable of doing this yourself. Now, something else, if you're a really mad keen gardener, you'd have to note that this does not produce usable compost to put on your garden. But look, if that's not your aim, then that doesn't really matter. So if you're thinking of using it as a composting system for pet waste, you'd want to avoid placing the unit alongside where you're planting food crops. All those cross-contamination issues might arise, but if you tuck it unobtrusively amongst some shrubs, it would be better. I'd avoid placing it under a tree for several reasons. There's going to be shading, and remember we need to keep it in as much sunlight as possible. The digging to bury it will disturb tree roots, which trees aren't particularly happy about. And eventually, tree roots might make their way inside the basket itself. But if you wanted to place it amongst other garden ornamental shrubs or grasses, some lovely native grasses, low shrubs, that would be fine. So if you're looking at which options would best suit your household, have a look at this table. You'll see that the green cone solar composter stacks up well against compost bins, worm farms and bokashi buckets. It takes all food scraps, it takes pet waste, it would suit families with lots of organics waste, it's low maintenance, fantastic, and it shouldn't create issues with rodents. Of course, you need a garden in which to have one, but if you're not a keen and active gardener who just wants to do the right thing and reduce your carbon footprint, this is a great option for you. Keep in mind we have produced similar lectures in this series, so if you'd like more information on any of the other composting options outlined in this table, please see the other videos on composting, worm farming and bokashi buckets. You may indeed find yourself as keen as I am to try them all out. And great news if you live in Boroondara. Council has collaborated with an organisation called Compost Revolution, so that any household, school and business in Boroondara is eligible to purchase council subsidised the green cone solar composters, as well as compost bins, worm farms, pet poo composters and bokashi bins with delivery free of charge. Go to compostrevolution.com.au/Boroondara and there you'll be able to see what's on offer and order straight from the website. Delivery to your door. That's social distancing at its best. There's more information and council support on lots of related topics such as composting and worm farming, more info on the FOGO system, avoiding food waste, the Love Food, Hate Waste initiative, and many other sustainable living workshops and events information as well at that website. And look, if you've come this far and you still think that none of the 4 options outlined in the table would suit your household or your lifestyle, and you still want to do the right thing, you might want to visit the Share Waste website as a donor. This indicates to other people in your area that you have food scraps that you want to get rid of. A host in the area will arrange to come and pick up your bucket of scraps because they're keen to be making more compost, or they want to feed and multiply their worms. Indeed, if you get really enthusiastic and want to make a heap of great stuff for a fantastic garden, you too could register as a host instead and help keep food scraps out of landfill. And finally, if you'd like any other information on the options for organics waste recycling at your home, I'd invite you to have a look at my website where you'll find other short how-to videos on these and many other related sustainable gardening and living topics. Thanks for listening and happy recycling.